Okay, good morning. We're here today as part of our Interview the Experts series. Today I have my friend Paul Chisaki. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing fine, Kannan. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. So what we've been doing as we're launching kind of our data tools and our data metrics is we've been interviewing industry experts, people like yourselves that have legendary careers helping to grow large companies. You have a very storied background, both from companies like Schwab, as well as most recently California Casualty. So what I'm hoping to do is have a chat with you for the next several minutes on kind of some of the learnings that you can share with our audience, and more importantly, kind of some of the things that you think are important to look for when we start working with companies. In particular, as you know, Grand Design Systems is going after the insurance market, and we've conducted some surveys around the guide wire, which seems to be the 800-pound gorilla in the area in terms of commercial off the software. So I want to get into that a little bit, but why don't we start off with talking a little bit about your background, Paul?
Well, great to be here, Kannan. Yeah, my background is laid within Silicon Valley. I started here as a programmer doing product development and riding the wave of the PC industry, doing shrink wrap products. If I had to characterize my background, it's really riding the waves of technological shifts that cause major disruptions to how business works. We're in the midst of yet another big revolution. The revolutions I see have been like the PC moving from minis to PCs, the move to virtualized software, the move to the cloud, the introduction of broadband. Those were all major disruptions that created enabling technologies to really solve business problems that had not yet been cracked. My work at Schwab was really enabling investors to be able to trade no longer just by telecom or by PC desktop software, but directly through the web. That was a major revolution that reshaped how the financial service industry really interacted with customers.
Yeah, I love that framing, Paul, which is that, I'm a Silicon Valley guy myself too, been here for decades. And you're right. Every time there's a big, what we call a tidal wave or a shift in platform, it inspires all this new innovation. Obviously, it inspires a lot of new companies, but it's great that you've seen many shifts. You've seen the shift from PC to mainframe, the internet. You've seen the mobile generation, the cloud. And when you're talking about the one that you think is bigger than all of them, I think you're talking about this latest move towards artificial intelligence and generative AI. Is that what you mean by the latest big shift?
Absolutely. We're seeing the green shoots of it. And what really is captivating is when business really catches a bit of the vision of what it can become. This is the opportunity for product companies such as yourself to really enable the transformations that can happen to empower the imagination of what it can become. And I think that's what makes our career a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I look at your career, like you said, you've been working at a lot of kind of well-known companies. Maybe contrast the working of at a Schwab, which was very forward-looking and kind of using technology as a weapon, with some of the other roles. Most recently, you were CIO of California Casualty. So give us an idea of what it was like between the two cultures, and then let's focus a little bit on the size of California Casualty and kind of some of the challenges that they were facing.
Sure. I've been privileged to work in a number of different industry verticals. Technology always is the disruptor, and partnering with business people is always great. But what I find interesting is the characteristics of different industries have certain characteristics. In the insurance industry, like you say, perhaps not as technology forward in terms of adoption. They're a little bit more risk averse, a tremendous amount of legacy tech debt, basically living by the motto, if it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Right.
And that creates interesting challenges when these breakthrough technologies come through, Guidewire being one of those breakthroughs. There's a tremendous amount of friction and resistance, not just from the technological aspects, which clearly that there are solutions around, but also from a cultural and organizational development. You have to overcome a lot of resistance that's quite profound in some circumstances that you need to keep your eyes on the ball with regard that to be successful.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that. One of the things that we've been doing in correspondence with our launch is we've been interviewing a lot of people, in particularly in the Guidewire ecosystem, that have implemented it. And some of the learnings we're going to be releasing a white paper about it. The biggest gotchas that people have had are what we would call soft issues in terms of the mindset and kind of bracing for the learnings and understanding what it means for everybody and the communication that it means. And so it's really important not just to have a technological vision, but also to have everybody on board, everybody on the bus, everybody looking the right way, et cetera.
Absolutely true. Absolutely. And it does require tremendous leadership from your executive team and being aligned to understand that this is not just a technological evolution where only one group is tasked with completing the project. It's really an organizational challenge that needs all hands on deck for it to be successful.
Yeah. And when we start looking at, like you mentioned the word tech debt, we're this huge wave we're going through now, which is around AI and modeling and generative AI and creation. Before that, there was the move to the cloud. We see that a lot of the big insurance companies are not even done with that transition. There's still a lot of on-prem software in the insurance industry. What was your opinion about on-prem versus the cloud when you were CIO of California Casualty?
One of the challenges is when a company is in a lights on mode, you have highly concentrated resources that do a lot of different tasks. And so when you introduce change, particularly introducing a technology stack that is different from what you had in-house, it often requires a retooling or partnerships with different system integrations or contractors to be brought in-house to not only maintain the existing legacy, but to propel your transformation going forward. Oftentimes, just the bringing together of these professionals can create some different kinds of cultural challenges to keep everyone aligned. But also, from a cost point of view, it can be tremendously costly to bring in all these different disciplines that are required to be successful, disciplines that were not always in-house. Right. And you could not risk making architectural decisions that will come back and bite you simply because that's the way that we're familiar with doing it. We need to find that balance of bringing in the right folks, but not going so overboard that it breaks the bank for the company.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the theses that we have at Grand Design Systems is that there is a need for a tremendous amount of, just around the area of data. We wrote a little blog about how there's 6 or 7 different roles that need to be filled. And a lot of times for companies, if you're going to build out that whole thing internally, it's a huge expense. And so being able to tap into expertise kind of by the drink, we say, or as you need it, can be a huge winner in terms of the business model for companies. So we're calling it data management as a service, but it has to do with kind of the different roles from the chief data officer all the way down to the data engineer and the data scientist, and being able to tap into that expertise when you need it and kind of turn it off when there's a gap between projects.
And from a CIO's point of view, that observation is really critical. The industry itself, you'd like to bring a lot of things in-house. We'd like to have the control over different roles. But if I need a data scientist for a particular phase of the project, and then I don't need them, I can't, as an organization, bring certain expertise in and then let them go if I'm going to bring them in-house. It would be contractors, but that also creates a loss of intellectual capital that you build up in terms of knowledge that goes out the door. And that is very painful as a
Right.
CIO. So the concept of abstracting that into a service to accomplish a task is very compelling to me. We try to solve that using a system integration partner, but that's a very costly option.
Yeah.
To work with a group that is really designing an integral part of our technology stack, providing a capability, that's a very different value proposition that would be worth teasing out.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we noticed when we started looking at some of the implementations in particular, so the data management as a service is a broader application to anybody outside of insurance companies, outside of Guidewire. But we've been pulled into this little universe initially around Guidewire, and what we found was that the systems integrators, the model that's being used now, doesn't necessarily lend itself to the best outcomes. It's kind of like how most of these organizations, even like law firms, if they're billing by the hour, their incentive is not necessarily the same as your incentive to make it happen. So I'd love to delve into a little bit of detail as where you saw the rocks while you were trying to keep, like you said, keep the plane flying while you were changing the engine. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we've been developing around pipelining and we believe there's kind of a things that we bring to the table that are certainly domain expertise in insurance, domain expertise around the Guidewire system, but then we have some tools and some pipelines and some software that allows people to streamline things and then kind of automate things. But I'd love to hear where you saw some of these models go afoul when you were implementing things over the years.
Well, in transformation with moving to Guidewire from our systems, one of the challenges, there was a lot of focus on governance of the application, but not always a lot of focus on the data management piece. And that probably stems from an MIS background of most insurance companies, kind of a rear view mirror view of technology or of use of data. And oftentimes it's thought, data is thought of, well, just it's a matter of just writing reports and it just happens automatically. And that we know does not happen automatically. Right. The procurement and curation of data to put it in a form that can do the analysis, and to where we're moving toward predictive analysis and the bringing together a third-party data can really propel a business forward, but not well understood by most insurance companies. You're beginning to see companies really beginning to see the potential of what it can become, but then become quickly overwhelmed by the complexity of what it takes to bring that to fruition.
Yeah. It's I started my career off on Wall Street, and even back then, data silos were the bane of everybody's existence, and trying to get them integrated together. And so, the hope is that we can, with these new latest tools, these new latest methodologies and approaches, we can help insurance companies see that although it's a tough problem to solve, that it's worth solving it, because once you have that data all normalized and accessible, some of the models that you can use for real-time underwriting, for fraud detection, for churn analysis are well worth the cost that that it takes to implement them.
And that is a compelling argument. What I use to really put data more on the radar for the business is, today we spend 80% of our time getting the data into a place where we can then write a report. So you do 80% data curation and 20% of analysis. What if we could switch that around, where procuring the data is relatively easy because it's all organized in a format that can do quick iteration analysis on anything, with opportunities that come that we couldn't even imagine. You can already begin to spend much more time on the analysis and the what if scenarios rather than these piecemeal data projects that are very costly and quite honestly cannot be reused over and over again.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we're seeing is that, the valley is ripe with innovation right now. You can feel it. You've seen all the waves that you're a veteran. You've seen all these waves, and this hype cycle on AI is so amazing because every week we're having a new company being funded for hundreds of millions of dollars. And what we're finding is that these models are getting more and more smart, more and more different factors go into them, and they're becoming more available, either open sourced or whatever. And so the real only differentiator that companies are going to have is their proprietary data set and how they can use that data to make a model, do something. If everybody has the same model and everyone's using the same data, then there's no real competitive advantage, is there?
That's correct. The data really is a company's secret sauce. Yeah. And how you leverage it is really going to be key of who's going to be competitive going forward.
I love it. Well, that's as you know, that's kind of the North Star for grand design systems is to democratize data, make it available everywhere in the way that you need it. We're starting off with the guide wire and the insurance company focus, but the broader idea is data management as a service, DMAS we're calling it, and we're hoping that we can play a part in helping some of these industries kind of get the most out of these AI models. So it's not just the big Amazon and Google and Facebook that are getting the advantages of it. We've been trying to help enterprises with AI for the last 4 or 5 years, and it really is the case that you get to a POC, but putting things in production and actually having it work and having the model work is still a rarity for most of the Fortune 500, if you can believe it. And the big companies that have this huge advantage and have all this consumer-based data like Google and Amazon, Facebook, their big win has been, helping them promote a YouTube video or in Facebook or a reel that can get them better advertising dollars. So we're still a long way from the potential, in my opinion, of what AI can do for the enterprise.
True. And if you can use AI just to take some of the nut and bolt work, the laborious, what we depend on key individuals in an organization, the mind, the corporate memory of what the data represents and how it's represented, you sometimes can become hostage to different individuals. Should they leave, you're very much left with a huge risk exposure. If you could apply machine learning and AI to really understand a company's data model, it can automate much of the day-to-day maintenance and the plumbing that then fuels the repositories that we can then do our analysis on. That would be huge. One of the key challenges I see with AI is really helping the business get their mind around a tangible use case that really shows value quickly. What we see in the media is still very idealistic. It creates a tremendous amount of fear, which then generates that organizational resistance, because we as humans do not like the unknown. We'll tend to gravitate to what is familiar. And it really stifles innovation. So being able to bring use cases that show very practical benefit quickly and then build on it helps business people have a much broader vision for what AI machine learning can actually become. So starting modest with the reports they do, and you can check the work with what we have today versus what's generated by the system. Can be an amazing productivity savings, but it then ignites more of the vision of, wow, if it can do this, could it do some additional work?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. When we start to, well, we're partners with a lot of the players, including Snowflake, including the big cloud providers. And Frank Slootman, the CEO of Snowflake, likes to say, everybody wants an AI strategy, but before you have an AI strategy, you have to have a data strategy. And so we're trying to make that true and kind of help people kind of pull out and make their data and make it so it's available everywhere with data pipelines and with the tools that we're using. Well, great, Paul. This has been wonderful. We hope that we get the chance to track you down again. I know you're happily retired, but your insight is always welcome and needed. And so thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It's an exciting time in the industry. I think GDS is positioned well to ride this next wave of technology and seeing what can we achieve for companies to add value.
Yes, exactly. And I like what you said. You got to do it incrementally. I mean, there's been a lot of hype that it's all going to be a big bang and it's going to happen. That's not really how it works. You kind of got to work and see what's available. But it is an exciting time, and I'm glad that we have you on our team to give us advice and guidance.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, cool.